The New York Islanders had a 3-0 lead and watched it go away in an epic collapse. They lose the game 5-3. They're behind in the series 2-0. And I guess the big question is, can this team overcome this kind of emotional collapse? We'll break it all down for you next on the Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Wow. I am still stunned, but we're going to try to break down this epic collapse by the New York Islanders. But first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all season long, all year long, really. And I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. And it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Where do you begin after an epic collapse like the New York Islanders just had? That is perhaps the question that has to be asked. And I don't know if I have an easy answer. And, you know, when you have a 3-0 lead on the road in a game that was within your grasp, it really, really was awful. And then to give up the tying goal and the winning goal 9 seconds apart in the final minutes of the game, that was just devastating. And wow, there was no way to just to absorb all this. And you know, maybe it's a good thing that the Islanders have until Thursday night now to try to figure this out. And look, the Islanders really in this game only played well for a little slim period of time. And that was, you know, early on, it's all Carolina. Shots on goal were 8-0 home team. And then, to his credit, Kyle McLean drops the gloves, and the Islanders finally get a shot on goal 13 and a half minutes into the game. And that's when the Islanders started to play a little better. And, you know, they get the 3 goals. Palmieri following up his own goal, just his own shot and getting that rebound. And that was huge. And then in the final seconds of the first period, a one-timer from the slot by Bo Horvat. And it's 2-0 Islanders. And then early on in the third, 4 minutes, a little less than 4 minutes in, it's Anders Lee on the power play, a little backhander from in front, and it's 3-0 Islanders. And you feel like, wow, 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 wow. But the problem is, after that shot, The Islanders were done for the game offensively. You cannot win a lot of hockey games when you only have 12 shots on goal for the entire game. And when you add the fact that 7 of those shots came in the first period, that means that in the final 20 minutes, 40 minutes rather, of this game, you registered 5 shots on goal. And oh, by the way, one of those 5 went in. You cannot win hockey games that way, being outshot 39-12. The Islanders just stopped skating. They just had nothing offensively, really, in this game. For the majority of the game, you had the late first period and early second period was the only time that you really had any kind of offensive flow for this team. Maybe a 8 or 9 minute stretch of the game, and then it all falls apart, and it's like a shooting gallery out there. And gradually the Canes come back, but you could feel the momentum change. And I think the momentum really started to change when Seth Jarvis made it 3-2 with a little more than 9 minutes left in regulation time. And that goal just all of a sudden it went from 3-0 to 3-2. And yeah, again, you gave up a shorthanded goal. The Teravainen goal that made it 3-1. We know the Islanders are always going to have trouble on the PK this year. But to give up 9 seconds apart, the tying goal by Aho, the winning goal by Martinook, where, Martinook's goal was so frustrating because Varley clearly lost sight of the puck and was beaten to the far post on the wraparound, and it was just bad news. The Islanders game 1 was there for the taking. They couldn't finish. Okay. Game 2, you had a 3-0 lead despite being outplayed for the majority of the game, and you just can't hold that lead. It is very, very difficult to imagine this team finding a way to come back from this kind of a collapse. And, I'll take it a step further. After the Islanders go down 4-3, and then the empty net goal makes it 5-3, and there's all kinds of scrums and pushing and shoving and fighting, and a lot of misconducts are handed out at the end of the game. You know what? You got to at least win those darn fights. And yeah, they all called them roughing because if it's a fight, you got to suspend people and kick them out of the game in the last minute. So they found a way around them by giving out misconduct penalties and roughing penalties instead of fighting. So officially, in the last minute, there were no fights. Okay? But if you're going to go out there to try to send a message and let your frustration out, at least win the fights. But you can't win the game. You can't win the fights. You can't hold on. If you can't generate more than 12 shots on goal in a game, you're not going to win very many of them. You have to be almost perfect defensively. And yeah, okay, I didn't love all the penalty calls. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This team should not have. You can't let a 3-0 lead evaporate like that. You cannot do that and hope to survive in the playoffs. You just cannot. And boy, what a devastating loss for the New York Islanders. They are now down 2-0 in the series. They now need to win 4 of the next 5 to have a chance to continue their season and advance to the next round. They're going to have to regroup. They're going to have to recover. Let's see what they can do. But what a devastating loss. I am still fuming and stunned after this poor performance and letting this lead go. We have got more to discuss. We're going to break down a little more of what went wrong. We'll talk about the hero and go to the game and whether or not this Islander team is capable of overcoming an epic collapse. Unfortunately, Carolina Hurricanes fans will remember this game for generations, and the Islanders will have to deal with the fallout of this horrible collapse for a long time to come. All right, more to get to on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. And look, they have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and their lowest price guarantee, so Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. My favorite feature on Game Time is the view from your seat. You go on the app, you could see the view from your seat before you purchase the tickets, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. I love that feature. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. The Locked On NHL mock draft is available now. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on Locked On NFL Draft to hear who the local experts are picking for every NHL franchise with live reactions from local college football experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL mock draft is available now on Locked On NFL Draft. It's on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I don't know even where to begin to talk about what went wrong. And this team, look, okay, let's start with the good news. Bo Horvat, Kyle Palmieri, Anders Lee, those are your goal scorers. Those are the guys you need to get things going offensively, okay? So getting production from those players, very important. Matthew Barzal in this game, he did have an assist. No shots on goal. That's not going to work. Now, again, the Islanders as a team had 12 shots, okay? 4 of them belonging to Palmieri, 3 of them belonging to Bo Horvat. That's 7 shots on goal between, more than half of your shots from just those 2 players. But Matthew Barzal cannot have 0 shots on goal. You need more than 1 shot on goal from Brock Nelson. And, oh, by the way, none of the 6 Islander defensemen who dressed for this game even registered a single shot on goal. And we talked on the show yesterday, Everydayers may remember, that, the Islanders are playing a little more conservatively. Their defensemen are not being as aggressive. They're not pinching in as much. And it showed. They only had a couple of shots on goal from defensemen in game 1. But no shots on goal. Noah Dobson, no shots. Mike Riley, no shots. Adam Pelech, Ryan Pollock, Alexander Romanov, Robert Bortuzzo, goose egg, all the way down. Not going to work. Not going to work at all. And something's got to change because you're not generating enough offense without having the defensemen activate and be a little bit more offensive minded. And yet your defense isn't getting the job done either. The number of shots the Islanders gave up in this game was way too high given the circumstances. Good news, J.G. Pageau back. J.G. Pageau had an assist, but The bad news, clearly, give credit to JG Pageau for hustling, for giving it his all to be out there, but he wasn't himself. It was clear. He took 20 faceoffs in this game and only won 6. That is not your typical JG Pageau in the faceoff dot. And, you know, if I'm looking for goats of the game, the line of Pageau, Lee, and Engvall. Pageau and Lee -3 in this game, Engvall -2. There are so many different guys I could make the GOAT, but I'm going to go with Pageau, Lee, and Engvall because they were on ice for so many of the goals against. But really, it could and probably should be the entire team based on that collapse. Hero of the game, I am going with Kyle McLean. The fight energized this team. They say that fighting is less and less a part of hockey, and that very well may be correct. But the fight by McLean in the first period showed that there is still a place and a purpose for fighting in this game. And McLean energized this team, and that fight helped wake up a team that was really off to a poor start and got them through to the point where they were up 3-0. They just couldn't sustain it. So I'm going with Kyle McLean as the hero of the game. I'm going with the line of Pageau, Lee, and Engvall as the GOAT. But boy, there is a lot of GOAT to go around. And the Islanders just absolutely have to wake up and figure out what they do next, because we have heard so many people talk about what a difference Patrick Roy has made. The record of the team was clearly better under Roy point percentage wise than it was under Lane Lambert, and that really strong finish to the season that got them into the playoffs. A lot of credit to Patrick Roy there. His coaching ability, his motivating ability is going to be severely tested. And whether or not the Islanders can come out in Game 3 and shake off this loss, a lot of it is going to be, can Patrick Roy psychologically get this team back to where it needs to be to be back on home ice for Game 3 and to go out there and just play like it's a must-win game and don't be devastated by this loss. The psychological impact of a collapse like this, it's not just, you could look at it this way. It's just one game. You got to win 4 to win the series. You're down 2-0. You win one game at home. You're back in it. You can go back to the old cliche. Oh, yeah, until you lose a game at home in a series, you're okay. And that's true until Game 7. If you're the road team and you win your 3 home games, you force a Game 7. And then, the general hope is, okay, anyone can win a Game 7. Well, now, emotionally, that's the thought process this team has to have. Yeah, we lost in terrible fashion, but we have to come out and understand that it's still just one game. And if we win Game 3, we're right back in the series. Psychologically, that is the message that Patrick Roy has to send to his team. And it will really show me what kind of a coach he is. Not if the Islanders go out in Game 3 and win 7-1, or even win 1-0 or 3-2 or whatever. It's the way they come out. It's the way they play emotionally. It's the way they show up for Game 3 that is going to tell me so much about Patrick Roy and his ability to get through to this team emotionally and help them get back on track, because boy, oh boy, this was devastating. All right, more to get to on today's show. We have our Islanders birthday of the day, a member of all four Islanders Stanley Cup winning teams, and a player who was a very good offensive player earlier in his career, but was more of a checking forward with the Islanders on their Stanley Cup winning teams. Let's see if you can guess who that is, and we'll talk a little bit more about whether or not this Islanders team can bounce back from this terrible loss. We've got all that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose, and you can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. I love this time of year. To me, the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs is the best time to be a hockey fan, and you can check out all the odds and prop bets on FanDuel. Just go to the app. You want to use your knowledge of the Islanders? Check it out. It's all there on FanDuel. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to make your first bet an automatic win. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Today's episode is also brought to you by Policygenius. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you could find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. Talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step, and you can easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonnhl or click on the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonnhl. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So, where do we go from here? The one thing the Islanders cannot do is give up. And, again, they've got to stop taking penalties. Yeah, they only gave up one power play goal, but they allowed 4 power plays, which just isn't going to get it done. And then, boy, oh boy, Anders Lee after the game, we didn't get the clears. It's simple. We buried our chances early when we had them, and they kept coming at us like we expected. We just weren't able to break it tonight. Clearing their own zone has been a problem for this team all season long. We saw that under Lane Lambert. We're seeing it again, maybe a little bit less frequently, but last night, just as frequently against the Carolina Hurricanes under Patrick Waugh. We know that the Hurricanes are a difficult matchup for the Islanders, in part because of their speed, in part because of their relentless forecheck. What Carolina does so well is they put pressure on the puck carrier, force turnovers, and then score on the counterattack. That is, unfortunately, a very good formula for beating the New York Islanders. And it worked to perfection last night in game 2 after the Islanders had their early advantage. And this team needs to shake this game off, put it behind them, and find a way to almost say, you know what? We're just going to go out there and let the cards fall where they may. I think the Islanders need to have their defensemen be a little bit more aggressive than they've been. That has been a problem in both of the first 2 games. This team is playing back. I understand why that was the initial strategy, but I don't think it can be the strategy going forward. And then I think that do you turn now? I don't think Ilyas or I don't think Semyon Varlamov was to blame for this loss by any stretch of the imagination. But maybe game 3, you go back to Ilya Sorokin, because while Varley was not to blame for this loss, he did not. He's no longer the red hot hand that he was before this game started. So going to be a challenge. Not going to be easy. Going to take a while for us, even as fans, let alone the players, to sort of overcome the devastation of this loss. But let's see if Patrick Roy and this veteran New York Islanders team has the ability to put this behind them, go out, and get the job done in game 3 to extend this series. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And today is the 72nd birthday of former Islanders center Wayne Merrick, native of Sarnia, Ontario, first round pick of the St. Louis Blues in 1972, 9th pick overall. And he made his debut in the NHL with the Blues in 72-73, put up back-to-back 20-plus goal seasons with the Blues, then had a 25-goal season with the California Golden Seals, played for the Cleveland Barons, and then was traded to the Islanders midway through the 77-78 season, scored 20 for the Isles in 78-79, and stayed with the team through the 83-84 season. Wayne Merrick, 774 games in his NHL career, 191 goals, 456 points, 303 penalty minutes, add 19 goals, 49 points, and 102 penalty minutes, 102 postseason games. And boy, oh boy, Wayne Merrick was fast. He could check. He could score. He was a good second line forward, but he was a great third line forward. And one of the reasons the Butch Goring trade worked so well was it allowed Wayne Merrick to go from second line to third line, and that was the perfect role for him on the New York Islanders. We're going to go back and look at one of his better moments as an Islander, and it's tough to get a better moment than this. May 21st, 1981, Stanley Cup Finals, Islanders, Minnesota North Stars. This is game 5 of this series at the Coliseum. You have Don Beaupre in goal for Minnesota, Billy Smith in goal for the New York Islanders. Wayne Merrick in the first period scores a goal assisted by John Tonelli and Bob Nystrom that puts the Islanders up 2-0. And that was the Stanley Cup winning goal as the Islanders beat the North Stars by a score of 5-1 to win their second consecutive Stanley Cup. So Wayne Merrick, one of only 4 Stanley Cup winning goals in Islanders history, he has one. So happy birthday to Wayne Merrick. He is our Islanders birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Every dayers tomorrow on the show. Hopefully, we'll gain a little more perspective on this loss in another 24 hours. I hope the pain gets reduced a little bit and we can start to look ahead to game 3 and what it'll take to win there. We'll also have our final farm report of the season, wrapping up things for the Bridgeport Islanders. So make sure you join us for that. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.